Look, this place can mess with your head, but this is our chance. Whatever it was you saw, it's all the more reason to get out of it.
Welcome to the channel, I'm Hayes. I'll talk movies all day, sometimes I'll talk about games, so subscribe right now if you want to be entertained. And today, I want to talk about the Callisto Protocol, the 2022 survival action horror from Striking Distance Studios and Grafton Inc., and why I think the reasons it's bad are ultimately the reasons it's good. Now before I get into the video, it's probably worth mentioning that when this game came out, I heard its name floating around but paid very little attention to it and had even less intention of buying it. In fact, the only reason I got it was because I got it free when the Epic Game Store was giving it away. And even then, I wasn't actually planning on playing it anytime soon. I only ended up playing it because I accidentally clicked the icon on my PC desktop. The game opened up, I figured I'll just play for a few minutes and go to bed, but ended up playing for at least an hour and just had less sleep that day. So during my experience playing, one of the things that kept me going was the fact that it had very regular automatic saves. The game would save my progress maybe around every 10 to 15 minutes, sometimes more frequently than that, and what that meant was going into a play session never felt daunting, because I ain't know about you, but these days that's a big thing for me. The unfortunate truth is that it is hard for me to make as much time for games as I would like, and if you work full-time and or have lots of other priorities and commitments, I'm guessing you know exactly what I mean. Whenever I've played a game and gotten some 30-40 minutes or more with no save and then end up dying, that for me is one of the most demoralizing things a game can do, because the amount of willpower and energy that I have to conjure up to go back to something that openly disrespected me like that, I mean, I ain't saying I never do it, I'm just saying I'm probably not going to do it. So the fact that this game kept the autosaves pretty regular was a big part in what kept me coming back. Now the game itself, well, it kind of plays like a survival horror, but you're never really too scarce on resources, at least not on the medium difficulty option. There is a little bit of inventory management, especially in the beginning before you get the suit upgrade, but even that never really felt like I was making hard choices. You get a variety of weapons throughout, but the way I tend to approach games like this is save your good ammo for the big boss. So mostly I just stuck with the stun baton and the pistol hand cannon, along with the shift for stealth attacks, which meant that for some enemies, especially after they evolve, took a bit longer to take down than they might have done otherwise. Now having got through the game, I'm not sure doing it that way was completely necessary, though you definitely don't want to be just wasting your good ammo. You can upgrade your weapons by collecting Callisto credits, though I doubt you can fully upgrade all your weapons in one playthrough, but there is a new game plus mode which as of yet I have not played, or more specifically, not played it a lot. I've been through a little bit of New Game Plus, that's where this game footage is from, so what I can say is, you do keep your weapons and upgrades as is the norm with New Game Plus, but you don't get them back until you reach the first Reforged print machine, so the first maybe hour-ish is pretty much exactly the same. Now speaking of the enemies, there are a variety of enemies, though most you can defeat in pretty similar ways, which is smack with the bat a few times, then shoot and repeat until dead. Or a lot of times in my case, because I was often trying to conserve ammo, it will smack with a bat and then repeat until dead. Now although a lot of the enemies can be defeated in similar ways, there are still some different tactics you'll need to employ, like dodging or trying to run backwards or running out of ammo and trying to change weapons mid-fight. There's also plenty of times you'd be surrounded by multiple enemies at once, but they very rarely, if ever, actually gang up on you. I mean, it's basically Enter the Dragon, but in space and no kung fu. So yeah, even when surrounded, you can still pretty much fight enemies one at a time. But don't take that to mean you don't have to look out for the other enemies. You can, or at least I did a lot of times, easily switch focus unintentionally and all of a sudden you gotta deal with a different attack pattern. Though, to be fair, that could have been a very deliberate game design to keep you on your toes a little bit. Now the story of the game is pretty solid and it's told well, gives you just enough in the beginning to make it intriguing, and then gradually reveals more and more about what's going on as you play through, and by the end of the game, it wraps up nicely to be a complete story. There's layers to the story as well, though I think it's fair to say it's probably not gonna blow anybody's minds, but certainly enough to keep you interested throughout and definitely room for expansion, be that a sequel or a spin-off. There's a lot of potential for more, especially as there were a few things that got brought up, and one in particular about mental states that seems like it was going to factor into the game somehow and then it didn't. Possibly something they could expand on if they ever do a sequel. Alright, now so far I've described what sounds like a decently average game. Maybe the type of game that you might pick up in a deep discount Steam sale. And yeah, that's kinda why I'm recommending it. Amongst the complaints that I saw about the Callisto Protocol were that it's short, the enemies feel repetitive, and it's not Dead Space, which are all valid points. It took me about 10 hours to get through, which seems to be the average. As I said earlier, lots of the enemies can be beaten in very similar ways, and let's keep it real, Dead Space, by most measurable metrics, is the superior game. But with many AAA games in recent years routinely requiring 25 plus hours and a lot of dedication, the Callisto Protocol is near enough the perfect game for people who used to play Lola games and now can't because life be lifing. Let me explain. Back in the pre-responsibilities days, I could sit on a game for 8, 9, 10 hours in a day and not even think about it. I had time to play lots of different games and sometimes the same game again but on a higher difficulty setting. But these days, man just can't do that. I mean, I could still make time for gaming, but 10 hours in a day? Mate, I can't even do 10 hours in a week. And because of that, there's certain games I just have to accept are not made for me. Like Elden Ring. That looks like exactly the type of game that my 18 to 22-year-old self would have been all over. But now, if I started playing Elden Ring today, assuming I don't rage quit after having to relearn how to defeat the enemies because my time in between game sessions would be that long, the earliest I can expect to beat that game is when Half-Life 3 comes out. Actually, there's some heavy rumors that Half-Life 3 might be coming out by the end of 2025, so if that happens, I won't be able to make that joke anymore. Anyway, but also Street Fighter. I used to be nasty with Street Fighter 2. If I was playing M. Bison, man was like MC Hammer.
You can't touch this.
Even up until Street Fighter 4, I was nowhere near as good as I used to be, but I just about managed to hold my own pretty okay. And then Street Fighter 5 dropped, and it was beyond clear. I just did not have the time nor the patience to keep up.
We're changing. We're like turning into regular people.
Bottom line, I'm just not that guy anymore, and I haven't been that guy for a long time. So yeah, Elden Ring and a lot of the big AAA games coming out, as much of a masterpiece I'm sure they are, it's just too hard to justify spending that much money on something I'm probably never going to complete. Maybe not even make it through 1% of it. But I still enjoy gaming. I still want to play something of high quality, something that offers a good challenge but doesn't require me to get a hand massage afterwards, something that can deliver an interesting and thoughtful story but without feeling like a Ubisoft game that didn't know when to end, and something that is long enough to feel like a complete experience but not so long it becomes my life for the next 10 years. And yeah, I know games like that aren't going to be on too many people's greatest games of all time list, but as long as it's good enough, I'm good. The Callisto Protocol hits all of that. It's basically a great game for people who don't have much time to play games but still want to play something where you can get that good game feeling like what you used to get, but in a much more manageable time frame that fits in better with your current lifestyle. There are parts of the game that feel a bit lacking, but overall, it delivers a satisfying experience that gamers like me often miss out on with modern releases. So yeah, I don't disagree with the reviews it got, but as the old saying goes, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Now that all said, can't lie, I'm glad I got it free. I mean, obviously it's good to get anything for free, but had I paid £50 for it? Look, games are expensive to make, so I ain't mad at developers trying to get their money back. And to be fair, £50 is pretty much the lower side of AAA games these days. And to be honest, £50 is actually a fair price for this game, especially for those who have a bit more time on their hands and are able to play it through multiple times on different settings. But the thing is, I'm just a cheapskate, and I feel like 35 to 40 would be the ideal sweet spot for me. Anyway, to wrap this up, if you avoided this game because it didn't exactly set the world on fire and a lot of the reviews just said, it's alright, I get it, it's an easy game to miss. But if you are a former hardcore gamer that now spends more time listening to gaming podcasts on the way to work than actually playing games, I think the Callisto Protocol is worth a consideration. Or, just get Dead Space instead because it's cheaper and also doesn't take that long to get through. But that's what I think of the Callisto Protocol. What do you think of the Callisto Protocol? Let me know down below, and while you're there, be sure to like, subscribe, and drop a suggestion if you don't mind.